right. We are going to call to order this regular meeting on Tuesday, March 26th. I just realized it's my youngest brother's birthday, and I didn't say happy birthday yet, so he doesn't watch this, so he'll never know. All right, we are going to do our roll call.
Student Trustee Deodar.
Here.
Student Trustee Garcia.
Here.
Trustee Rosenbaum.
Here.
Trustee Khan. Here. Trustee Boyd.
Here.
Vice President Hopwood. Here. President Davidson.
Here. Okay, we will now have the reading of the Albany Unified Mission and Vision Statement and meeting norms.
The mission of Albany Unified School District is to provide excellent public education that empowers all to achieve their fullest potential as productive citizens. AUSD is committed to creating comprehensive learning opportunities in a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, addressing the individual needs of each student.
Meeting norms. Maintain a focus on what is best for our students. Ensure a safe environment for all views to be expressed, treating each other, staff, and the public respectfully. Endeavor to find common solutions to issues through collaboration without sacrificing one's beliefs in what is best for students. Make a commitment to effective deliberation, each one listening with an open mind, while others are allowed to express their own points of view, even if one disagrees.
All right, we will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Again, missing our person. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. There was no action taken in closed session. And we're now going to look for an approval of our agenda. Just one thing that we need to amend is we're going to move item 12, review and action, employment, contract, and appointment of our interim superintendent to the end of our meeting. So if anyone would like to make a motion with that.
Move to approve the agenda with the amended item 12 moving to the end of the meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no opposed, we have an approved agenda. We will now move on to our recognition and action. And for this, the board recognizes and promotes awareness months, appreciation weeks, and national days with resolutions that encourage the district to observe these occasions with appropriate events and instructional activities. And today we will be having a resolution proclaiming April 2024 as Arab American Heritage Month. And I'm handing this over to Trustee Boyd.
Thank you. I'll just read the resolution. Whereas the United States is home to an estimated 3.7 million Arab Americans, with the majority native-born and a citizenry of 82%, and whereas Arab Americans live throughout the U.S., with California having the largest population and 1/3 living in the greater Los Angeles, Detroit, and New York areas, and whereas the majority of Arab Americans can trace their ancestry to one of the world's 22 Arab nations, from northern Africa through Western Asia, including Algeria, Bahrain, the Comoros Islands, Djibouti, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Libya, Morocco, Mauritania, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, and Yemen, yet share a common cultural and linguistic heritage in all their diversity. And whereas Arabic is currently the fastest growing language in the U.S., and whereas approximately 25% of Arab Americans practice Islam and an estimated 63% are Christian, and whereas upon immigrating, Arab Americans brought with them their resilience, culture, family values, strong work ethic, and a dedication to education. And whereas 40% of Arab Americans have a 4-year college degree and 17% have a postgraduate degree. And whereas Arab Americans have long made contributions to American society in such areas as science, foreign policy, and international development, technology, civic engagement, and the arts, with such examples as writer and poet Khalil Gibran, Annie Thomas, entertainer and founder of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, geologist Farouk Elbaz, poet and physician Fadi Judah, former Congresswoman and Secretary of Health and Human Services Donna Shalala, and the first two Muslim Congresswomen, Ilhan Omar, a Somali refugee, and Rashida Tlaib, the first Palestinian-American woman to serve. And whereas there is a lack of accurate data on the Arab American community due to their classification as white, which has resulted in being underrepresented and undercounted in areas of health, education, employment, and housing. And whereas the history of Arab Americans in the United States remains neglected, they are harmed by misconceptions, bigotry, and anti-Arab hate in racial profiling and civil rights abuses. Whereas there is a need for education, awareness, and policies that are culturally competent when describing or addressing the impacts of being Arab American in all aspects of American society. Therefore, be it resolved that the Albany Unified School District Board of Education proclaims the month of April as National Arab American Heritage Month and encourages all district schools to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional activities.
All right, we will now take any questions, comments, or motions.
I'll just say thank you, Trustee Boyd, for working on this resolution with me. I think it's just extremely important that we continue to recognize and uplift all of the diversity in our community, and this is just one step towards doing so. I'm grateful to our board and our community for being, working towards diversity and equity and inclusion and actually practicing what we preach. So, yeah, that's all. And I'll just make a motion. Ooh, that was loud, sorry. I'll just make a motion to adopt resolution, where is it, 2023-24-16.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution has passed. And we are moving on to our, sorry, I was on the different page. Student board member reports.
So it's kind of short today. Pretty much the biggest thing going on at the high school is the March Madness and the Diversity Week. So we have Spirit Days every day this week, and a block party on Friday where all of the high school gets out at 1:40. There's going to be like food trucks and a bunch of games and music, live bands performing, and like right before the spring break.
Yeah, I think it's open. I don't know if it's open to the public. If it is, you should come. But for Diversity Week, it was a while back, but we're just now talking about it. There was a lot of events during lunch that students could participate from, like Black Student Union, I believe the Asian Student Union as well, GSA and other things like that. And then at the end, we had a big diversity assembly where students got to perform a lot of cultural dances and also just other representations of culture. And it was a very beautiful thing to watch. And yeah. And that's it for our report. It was very short.
You sure you have nothing else to add? Nothing at all?
You sure?
Anyone else want to tell a story? We would love that. Would you like to? Do you have a good one ready? We have a lot of public comment, right? How many people are making public comment on matters not on the agenda? Please raise your hands. This is the opposite of what you're normally going to see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Give them 3 minutes each. All right, we're going to move on to public comment on matters not on the agenda. Please come up and speak. In the opposite of many meetings, we are trying to keep.
Nobody wants to go first.
All right, come on, don't be worried. Cornell families, wonderful folks. All right.
Hi, okay. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, and I just wanted to give a really big shout out to our math TSA, Amanda Silas. She's been doing some really amazing work, and I think that one of the things that we're probably going to be losing due to budget cuts is this wonderful position and this wonderful person in this position. She's made some amazing professional development for the teachers. She's taught us how to rethink about our mathematics education, and it's exciting because we're working so hard on our reading. But I just wanted to really sort of put before the board and the district office how much we value this position and this particular person in this position. I think that those two things have aligned really well to create a very positive experience for everyone here. I also wanted to add that Coyote Fun Fitness Week is coming up the week after spring break. So make sure that you participate and get your exercise on. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, please.
Hey guys, I have a couple of statements. So the first one is a little vent regarding the Cornell playground. So every morning I drop off, I see kids standing by the playground fence, looking at their new play structure that is locked away and has been locked away behind a fence for many months. This makes me sad, and it also makes me think that we have somehow failed our kids. And so I think that, we have failed our kids because it is almost April, and this construction project started last year, and it's still not complete. Why does a project like this take so long? We have failed our kids because this project, as I understand it, requires an extended period of dry weather. Yet, we decided to start this project during the rainy season. Why was this decision made, and where is the accountability for this type of decisions? And as a frustrated parent, I just want to say that, I want to encourage us to do better for our kids. The second statement I want to make is regarding the Cornell Chinese program. I've been to multiple board meetings in support of this program. It's a very valuable after-school enrichment program, and I say enrichment because it is so much more than just aftercare. Given the recent budget cuts, I think it would be very important for the board to provide clarity on the future of this program. For example, when will we know if there will even be a program next year? What changes, if any, will be made to the program? And lastly, how can families in the program get better communications regarding changes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Ehrlichman and a father of 2 young children, one of whom is a student in the Chinese After School program, and I'd like to echo the previous speaker's concerns. I urge the board to count the program among Cornell's particular assets. Anybody who has observed Shen Losher's classroom can recognize that it is a markedly effective teaching environment. Students learn not only Chinese language and culture, but also good behavior and healthy respect for one another and their instructors. The program's teachers have done an admirable job developing their classroom and is an extension of Cornell's mission. Such an environment cannot simply be created at will and should not be forfeit lightly. I urge the board to continue to support the Chinese language after-school program for now and into the future. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Oscar, and I'd like to say something about the Chinese school. I am 8 years old and have been in it for 3 years now. It is a good aftercare, and not only is an aftercare, but teaches Chinese.
Thank you. You have more time if you want to share more with us. You can just tell us how awesome Cornell is or how...
And it respects Chinese culture and makes it fun while learning Chinese.
Awesome, thank you.
Bye.
I'd also like to make a brief comment about the Cornell Chinese program, echoing the previous statements. Great job. So my name is Ben Rubin. I'm an Albany resident and proud parent of a fabulous first grader. You may remember my wife making a statement at a previous meeting when our daughter and I stood here, and she shared how meaningful the program's been to our family. We're very grateful for the truly excellent teachers and the education our daughter has been receiving in the Chinese program over the past 2 years. This year, our daughter has been increasingly speaking in Chinese with her family members on my wife's side who speak Chinese and not much English, and it's really been warm to all of our hearts. We're also grateful for the terrific community that the teachers and parents have helped develop around the program. The attendance at this meeting, while terrific, still does not properly capture the immense value that the Chinese program families place on the program and its staff. It rather reflects poor communication about the decision-making processes and timelines that impact the program, so I hope this will be improved in the future. We recently heard that the after-school program staff have been laid off, and we are very concerned about plans for next year. We need to figure this out soon, since we expect our options outside of the school to dwindle quickly, especially with uncertainty about what Albany USD will be providing. So where will our children go after school next year? What are your next steps and timeline for figuring this out? I hope you could provide answers to these questions. Our children need the Chinese program at Cornell. Thank you very much.
Jackie, since you're our acting superintendent right now, there might be information from that budget meeting. I know that there was a board member question precisely around whether we would have the same amount of care.
We are planning to provide all the cares for the Cornell and of course for other school sites, so it will be the same amount.
We're taking public comment. Come on up. Nope, looks like you're ready. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jacob Clark. I want to thank you guys all for serving as school board members and employees of the school district. Good evening. I'm here tonight to thank Dr. Wells for his service to our school district. From the day he started his job as our superintendent, I knew his heart was in the right place. His commitment to Albany was apparent, and students were always at the forefront of all of his decisions. He was a man of honor, and our community was truly blessed by his presence. I personally am going to miss him tremendously. He accomplished so much during his short time in Albany, and I hope we as a community can do something very special to thank him for his service. If the board is open for suggestions, I would propose that you gather input from our community about how we can best honor him and make sure our community never forgets him. One way we could do this would be by naming something in the district after him. Mr. Wells was a wonderful person, and I'm going to miss him deeply, and just felt it was my duty to come here and speak on behalf of him. I know you guys all know him, and I just was very, very saddened and shocked with the news. Just wanted to come pay my respects to Dr. Wells, and rest in peace, friend.
Thank you. We have one speaker in our virtual audience. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. This is Linda Williams. I'm coming to make comment on behalf of the Black Parent Advisory Group. Along with everyone else in the district, we were extremely saddened and shocked to hear about the passing of Dr. Wells. from the moment he became our superintendent, he supported the Black Parent Advisory Group, our mission, our goals, our objectives, in support of our students. He created programs for students of color. They're on their way to Atlanta, Georgia for a Black college tour next week. And that was all due to the dedication and hope that Dr. Wells had for our students. He came to as many of our BPAC meetings as he could, and he came to every single event. I'm also a district employee, and our office is very quiet, and his presence is definitely missed every single day in that office. I just want to publicly thank him for all that he did for Black Parent Advisory Group, students of color, district office staff, and all the parents and students of Albany. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more public comment in our virtual audience.
Hello?
Hello.
Great. I'm Steve Tabachman. I live at 1145 Evelyn. I'm a resident and parent of 2 kids in the Albany public school system, including a 5th grader at Cornell Elementary School. And I really wanted to appeal to the board on an issue that it seems very small, but it actually means a lot to me and my family, and I think a lot of other families and students at Cornell. It's an issue that relates to mental health and the social health and physical health of the students in Albany Public Schools. And it relates to sharing the playground. So for the last 2 years, our first 2 in the district, our 3rd and 4th grader at that time, was able to enjoy the Cornell Elementary School playground after school and play with other kids from the school in a, sort of quote unquote third space, where he developed social skills, where he met kids of other ages, where he engaged in physical activity, where he did the things that normal kids do, which is so important right now in an era where kids' socialization, frankly, has been greatly impacted, study after study, by COVID. Unfortunately, this year, what has happened is the schoolyard has been closed within 10 or 15 minutes after every school day. I mistakenly thought this had to do with the construction project at the school, but I think I've learned through just word of mouth that it has to do with the after-school program that needs to run. And I can fully respect a need to have an after-school program and also to make sure that those kids are safe and not necessarily bothered or anything by other schools, other students who might not be unsupervised. But surely there's a way. There are lots of parents that are in that schoolyard. Surely we ought to have a way. And I really implore you each to think of a way that we can peacefully coexist, that kids in the program and outside the program can coexist on the playground, and that our limited public resources can be used for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no additional public comment, we will move on. Just my always reminder, board is not allowed to respond to public comment on items not on the agenda. Please send us emails because then we can respond. So if you want to follow up or you really want to hear from us about something, there's an email. It's boardofed@AUSDK12.org, and it goes to all of us. So we look forward to reading those, and we will move on to the approval of our consent calendar. Questions, comments? Motion.
I'll move the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's done too. And we're going to move on to our report from the Albany High School Student Advocacy Committee and their report on student engagement survey results for the school years 2021 to 2023. And I think I'm handing this directly over to our students. Oh, Dr. Shins, you're gonna, great, perfect.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Acting Superintendent Kim, District Leadership Team, Albany educators, and community. It's truly my pleasure and privilege to introduce our next presenters. The Student Advocacy Committee is a board-appointed committee solely comprised of students, led by students, serving students. The mission of the Student Advocacy Committee is to learn and listen to our students and work directly with the district leadership in order to support and improve outcomes for all students in the district. Their existence, as well as their work, is the greatest example of how our district communicates and leads together with our most important educational partner, our brilliant students. So we are so very, very proud of our student leadership, and we look forward to learning from them tonight in order to, again, support and improve outcomes for all of the students in our district. So without further ado, I turn it over to our wonderful Student Advocacy Committee.
So I think Dr. Shin wrapped that up pretty well, but just to add on, so how we do all these things is we survey the student body, and then obviously student board members, we act as liaisons to the board and other district admin and just admin to all the school sites. And then we also invite other students from like different committees or different organizations from all different grade levels to come to the meetings and tell us about things that we might not be aware of or other things that are happening. And then we implement the SAC in other schools, such as the Junior Student Advocacy Committee, which we'll be talking about at the end of the meeting. Next slide, please.
So we sent out basically the same survey over the last 2 years to all middle and high schoolers. It was sent out as a Google form. I think principals sent it out at both schools to the students for them to fill out. In 2021 to 2022, we received 103 responses from the high school and 174 from the middle school. And then in 2022 to 2023, we received 48 responses from the high school and 374 from the middle school. So it's pretty good input, but again, we want to try and do better, and the disparity between the high school and middle school got really big last year. So this year we want to really focus on sending out the survey earlier so that teachers have more time to kind of spend time in class to get students to fill it out, and then also making sure that the survey is sent out in a way where students really want to respond to it and it's easy for them to do that. Because again, the point of this is to just get as much input on these surveys as possible. And the more input we get, the better the surveys are at representing the student body.
Next slide. So these are some of the main 6 key points that we took away from the middle school. The first one is cleanliness. Second one is the mental health of the students. Third one was the communication between the students and the staff members. Fourth was the different learning styles, the safe school environment, and the student life. Next slide, please.
Next slide. Yeah, so the first issue is cleanliness. Any survey or anytime we ever talk to students, the big thing they talk about is cleanliness, no matter if it's at the middle or the high school. So 260 students from the middle school recorded issues with cleanliness. This is over the surveys from both years. And it was mostly issues with the bathroom. You can see with the quote, trash around the lunch tables, the walls are pretty dirty, and especially the boys' bathroom, and it would also be dirty in the locker rooms. It's a hard issue to work with. It's really, you can't just hire more janitors and have more people cleaning. It's not like a very easy thing to do. So some of our solutions were to discuss with students about the importance of clean spaces, just trying to make sure that there isn't as much trash being thrown around, students aren't as destructive of their areas, and then emphasize how misuse of cleanliness supplies negatively affects themselves and shows a lack of gratitude towards maintenance staff. And then also make sure that supplies in the bathroom are well stocked, so there's enough toilet paper, tissue paper isn't running out. And then also this was one, when talking with some middle schoolers, we heard a lot about this, was making sure that menstrual supplies are well stocked so that they're able to get the stuff that they need. And I think this is especially one that's pretty simple to work with. It's not really complicated. So that was a big one. And next slide.
The next issue that we surveyed on was mental health. And first of all, almost half of the students that took the survey said that mental health needed improvement. And some of the issues that were discussed was a lack of teacher accommodation for students' mental health needs, and some students feeling like they had to prioritize doing their schoolwork over mental health the majority of the time. Some possible solutions are having S3, which is basically like a classroom where students can hang out and improve their mental health, have that open more often, as the quote says. The times when I need S3 the most, it's closed. Other possible solutions could be weekly or monthly check-in forms, training for teachers to recognize and react to mental health red flags, and a universal late work policy. Next slide.
Slide. Another really big thing that students brought up in the survey was the communication with staff, between staff and students. The biggest thing is that there seems to be like a lack of understanding from both parties, and just like students are falling in between the cracks. The ones who are the most quiet, the ones who don't usually ask for help, are those falling in that and then, can't get help. So we do know that resources to communicate with your teachers and admin and your counselor, they definitely do exist. And it's not really a problem of let's create this, because it does exist in our schools. It's more of a issue of advertising these methods of communication to students. So one way that we thought of was just creating like a take-home pamphlet, just like completely filled with everything that you can. Like, here's your counselor's email, here are their like office hours, here's your teacher's emails, here's their office hours, and also like the principal, like going up all the way, just so they have it in one place and they don't have to, look through websites or do anything like that. They can put it in their planner. I'm not sure if they still use planners. I know I did. That could just be me. But just have it in a place where students will actually look, and they can just have it. And then also, again, regular check-ins. It does seem to be like if you don't have like a one-on-one relationship with your teacher, it's harder to go ask for help from them. So just creating a more intimate relationship with them, and by doing that, creating check-ins, possibly meeting with students at least once in the year, at least once. I know that's like the bare minimum, but just to get to know each other and then to be able to ask for help later on. And then we could do this through office hours in their advisory or during lunch or whatever time is more convenient. Next slide.
I can do this. All right. So continuing on with the communication between staff and students, we also looked at if students felt like we were gathering enough input and how the best ways were to gather input. So over half of students were unsure if the district does a good job, which it should probably be a higher amount saying that the district does a good job. And then the student voice is incredibly important in the school district. And the SAC can be a really important part of that. And then also the JSAC, which we're going to talk about later, can be a really important part of kind of bridging that gap between the board and students. And then surveys are really important too. 65% of students said that surveys are the best way to gather input. So really just making sure to send out more surveys, stuff that students can easily fill out and that's very accessible for them. And we also looked at which resources students were using the most. This is at the middle school, and we see that the only resource really being used by students is the library. Counselors, teacher websites, and the student success space really aren't being used by students. And so these are a lot of really good resources, and it's really important that we make sure that students know about these resources and are able to use them to really help themselves out, because there are a lot of resources in place, but it might not feel like that for students just because they don't know that those resources are there and that they can use them. Next slide.
So another thing that I think is often brought up in like when we talk about students is always that students are on different levels, right? Some people think that the curriculum is way too easy and some people think that it's way too hard. So we talked about it a lot and we talked to students at the middle school. And one thing that we came up with was enrichment activities, because we don't want to like have all the focus, like the teacher just have all the focus on students who are already meeting standards or exceeding standards. We don't want to draw attention away from students who need to meet the standards, right? So one thing that we thought of was giving out activities that don't necessarily interfere with class time. So for example, a lot of times we see disparities, especially in math. So we thought of this one thing, a math club at lunch. So a math teacher could be the advisor for this math club, and then they could provide additional worksheets that are kind of in line with what they're learning in class that are just more difficult or perhaps even going further. And then also that could apply to like any subject. So let's say you think that your writing class is too easy for you. You could have a writing teacher or an English teacher come in during lunch or some other allocated time, and they could give you like writing prompts that could like make you think more, make you have that writing skill. And then also other possible solutions. These two solutions, again, they're already in place, they already exist, but what we're suggesting is that to really emphasize these and to continue to develop them, like the training for teachers, it's important to have teachers equipped with all the tools necessary to combat, not combat, but to help their students, because not every single classroom looks the same. And so if teachers have different tools under their belt to help them figure out what works for their classrooms, that's really important because, again, not all classrooms are the same. And to help them find that level with their students. And then again, the free tutoring services, these do exist. I know the high school students go over to the middle school and tutor each other. The high school student tutors the middle school student. It's more of just like developing that program and just advertising it so people know that it's there. Next slide.
The next issue we discussed was safe school environment. So the main issue that we see across a lot of schools is bullying, and the students feel like there's a problem of bullying at the middle school, and the school doesn't take care of this problem. And this is especially challenging because it's hard to monitor student conversations because you can't have staffs with student groups all the time. A lot of students feel discriminated against peers or by peers, like racially, gender, sexual identity. And also, moving on from the bullying, some students feel that there's a lack of respect for privacy in the bathrooms. Some possible solutions we came up with were mandatory teacher-counselor check-ins. Each grade has a assigned counselor in middle school. So if teachers and counselors made the effort to check in periodically with the students, this could help the problem that students feel with bullying. Another solution we discussed was community building events. There already are some at the middle school and also at the high school, like the field activities. These are really important to build the community and get rid of this problem of discrimination. Another solution was quick, frequent presentations during advisories about the weight of our words and actions. It's super important to inform students about the microaggressions and the things that they say and how they affect other people, because a lot of the time the students are not aware of what they're saying and how harmful it can be. And also more anti-bullying and anti-racist assemblies or discussions that further inform students about the problem. Next slide.
Next slide, yeah. The last part at the middle school, or the last issue that we looked at the middle school was student life. 30% of students at the middle and high school claimed it was a top priority. School activities might not be a big part of, learning and maybe reaching goals as a school, but it's a really big part of enjoying your time at school and having fun and being able to go to school and enjoy your time there, and then also wanting to learn more in the classroom. And some students wanted more stuff, other students wanted stuff that was already in place improved. One of the main ideas we had that we really liked was bringing the homecoming class competition to the middle school. I'm sure most of you know, but we have like class competitions and stuff at the high school during October, and that can be a lot of fun. It can, you know, you're more likely to kind of get closer with your class and closer with the people that you're spending your time with during school. So having stuff like that at the middle school could really bring a lot of people together, make it a lot more fun. Improving the current events and activities already in place. We don't know exactly what all is happening at the middle school, but there's like the Greek games during 6th grade, so adding more stuff like that, making stuff like that better. And then also inviting guest speakers, people that can come in and kind of get students engaged with different things, fun lunch assemblies or whatever. And then also, this is one big thing that's been happening a bit more recently, is establishing more sports teams. This is a really great way for students to get involved in school. And there's already a boys volleyball team working on being created at the middle school. I know we just made one at the high school. But yeah, just adding a lot of stuff like that. Next slide.
So these are some successes at the middle school. Next slide, please. So the first one is the academic achievement. Many students are excited about learning, and we found that most students perform at or above the standards. The second one is students-teacher relationships. There is most of the teachers are well-liked, respected, and they're appreciated by the students. There's a good connection between the students and the teachers. And the third one is the diverse curriculum. There's a lot of variety in literature and how we approach the different topics that we're talking about. Next slide, please.
So we just went over all the issues at the middle school. There's a lot of interlap, so we decided it wouldn't really be productive to go over all the issues at the high school as well. But these are the main issues at the high school: cleanliness, mental health, communication between students and staff, different learning styles, safe school environment, and then college and career readiness. There's a lot of overlap, but there are some new unique issues that aren't really issues at the middle school, but are definitely issues at the high school. Next slide. Or next slide again. All right. So one big issue is having consistency across the same class levels. So for example, if you're taking like junior year English or something, you might be taking the same exact class as another student but have a different teacher. So you might be taking a really hard class, but then your other friend who's taking the exact same class could be taking a really easy class. And that can be a really big issue where colleges or things that you're applying to don't see any difference, but you're struggling a lot more just to earn an A. And that's a really big issue. And then also just in terms of how much you're learning in the class. You know, I've had classes where I felt like I didn't really get anything out of it, but then my friend taking the same class got a lot out of it. And then another one a lot of students really want is less of a focus on STEM, especially with AP classes, adding more non-STEM AP and honor classes. There is a really big issue at the high school where we have a really big focus on STEM topics. And then more college and career readiness resources, and especially starting that earlier. Like this one student said, I wish there were more resources to help write a resume or cover letter for those who may not choose the college route. So especially resources for students who don't want to go to a 4-year and are looking at community college or trade schools or just don't want to do any of that at all. So solutions for the first one, just having teachers who are teaching the same class communicate with each other, make sure that the same stuff is being given, tests aren't harder or easier in one class. Adding more non-STEM AP and honor classes. This is a big one. It's kind of, I know it's easier said than done, but it is something that we really want to see. And then also having college and career fairs. We know it's really hard to get colleges to come in, but if we could have parents come in and be like, hey, I went to this college, I did this thing, and this is the job I have now, here's how I got here. and just kind of showing off the different things that you can do to get to where they are and the different opportunities that students could have as adults. And then also having local, state, or community colleges come to those tables just so students have a good idea of what all they're able to do with their future. Next slide.
So these are some successes at the high school, starting off with academic achievement, student-teacher relationships, diverse curriculum, and safe school environment. Next slide, please. So with academic achievement, once again, like the middle school, high schoolers have like a lot of motivation to really do well in their classes, to learn more in their classes, and to like go beyond kind of the scope of what's being taught in the classroom. And, you know, create their own clubs about subjects like physics and math and all of that stuff. And that's like a really strong point at the high school that I'd like to point out. Another thing is student-teacher relationships. A lot of students like really like their teachers. We have like, even though there have been some issues with communication, like I think there is care and appreciation from both sides. And a lot of students like rely on teachers in the high school. And I think there's a lot of like good relationships with that. And then also diverse curriculum. We have a lot of diverse literature. We have like 5 different English classes. You can choose based on like what you want to read, what books you want to read. We have like a lot of math classes. You can choose based on what level of math you want to do. And then also for safe school environment, we have an environment that really focuses on the safety of the students. And, you know, we hold a lot of meetings and discussions about the safety. You know, a couple years ago, we had like the safety task force. So I think it's really good that we really prioritize student safety in this district. And yeah, those are the key points, successes from the high school.
Right, and then just to wrap everything up, we're going to quickly talk about the Junior Student Advocacy Committee. So it's a requirement within our committee bylaws to actually have this. We've been trying to have it started for a while now, but this year it finally took off. So we had our first meeting last semester, and we've been meeting every other week since. But what we were planning on doing was kind of letting them become more independent. So we started like letting them run their own meetings, and now they're like meeting every week, and they've been doing a lot of great things. I know that they printed out a survey that they handed out to every single like 6th grader, which is great. And we've gone over issues with them at the middle school and helped them draft out what they think is most prominent, what they think is the most pressing thing to work on, and then we help them brainstorm solutions, quite similar to what we did here. And they got started with creating the boys volleyball team, so that's a really good success they had. It's their very first year. It's not even completely finished, but they've already done something great. And with that, we have elected their leadership, so they have 2 presidents and 2 vice presidents, and they're amazing, eloquent, smart kids, and I'm sure they're going to do a great job. So that concludes our report. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions or just clarifying certain points, now would be the time.
Are we ready? It was like very thorough. Who has questions or comments? Does everybody? Yeah? Okay, maybe Ron, we'll just start with you and come down the line.
Number one is, you guys are awesome. And I think that I'm just so impressed. This is something that really needs to happen at every high school there is. One question that I have, probably for staff, is whatever happened to the career fair that was an annual event at the high school and was really a big deal? So I'm not sure what the answer is, because I'm surprised that it's not there anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Second everything what Trustee Rosenbaum said, this is amazing. I did notice quite a lot of similarities between last year's presentation and this year's presentation. One of the things that comes up for me is I'm wondering, and I don't know if there was space in the survey for this, but the availability of counseling services versus the stigma regarding the use of these services and how students feel about that. I'm wondering if that plays a role in whether or not students are willing to utilize services that exist, or just kind of, I think, being from a small town, like, sometimes there's also just stigma in, like, if we see each other all day in school and, you know that I go to therapy, like, it might make me feel, a little bit weird. So I'm wondering if that plays a role in this as well. I wonder if maybe for future surveys, if there's a way to see whether students would feel more comfortable about on-school services versus off-site services, and if we need to do a little bit more research around providing, just like more options that are outside of school, if that makes students more comfortable. So like that kind of came up, and I would love to see student responses to that. Or I don't know if students brought that up to you guys or not.
I think there definitely is a stigma. Like even just like passing the halls, like I've heard students say like, I feel like not good today, but I don't want to go see my counselor just because like there's like student assistants in the counseling office. And I guess what you were saying, like you don't want someone you like go to school with to know that like you are in therapy or anything like that. I really like the idea of like outsourcing. I think that'd be really helpful for a lot of students, especially since mental health is a private and personal topic. I think that would be incredibly helpful. And we're planning on like switching our survey up this year when we send it up. So I think that's a really good idea. We'll make sure to put it on our survey.
Awesome. The other thing that it was kind of, I think because I just recently participated in the challenge day again, I am very curious if that can also be potentially included in like a separate survey, but I do genuinely wonder how the 10th graders feel about it. Does it feel effective? Does it, when students participate in it versus like at the end of the year, do they still feel like it made an improvement? Because I know part of it is like bringing diversity to the forefront, helping with like bullying and understanding and all that kind of stuff. So I do wonder how students feel about that. And then the last thing was about college and career fairs. I guess two-part question is, one, do you feel it would be more effective during the school time, like during lunch versus after school? Because a part of me is like, would a lunchtime event allow students enough time to, go around and speak to whether it's college admissions counselors versus like different jobs? But then also a part of me is wondering if it's held after school, will all students have access to it, since some might not be able to attend, whether it's for sports or other reasons? Sorry, and you don't have to answer these right now.
Well,
I have an answer.
Yeah, and I was thinking on that, like, can we just have one period at some schools? It's like you go with your English class, so all English classes go, so there's longer, but not everyone at once. So I think that's like,
there's just a lot that I just like,
I think Dr. Shin can figure out the
Yeah.
do the logistical.
I think it would be nice to just have a little bit feedback from the students before anything is planned on what would be most effective. Like, I think that's just what comes to mind. My other, or go ahead.
For the timing, a lot of time what we do when we have an assembly, like when we have the diversity assembly, on Wednesdays and Fridays we have advisory, which is like a 45-minute period that students usually use for homework. So usually they do a change schedule where we'd have second period and then fourth period, and then they'd put advisory and lunch back to back. So we would just have this during advisory, or it could go through advisory and through lunch too. So all students would be at school during that time unless they have free periods or unless they have other things going on. And it wouldn't really take away from class time. It would just be during advisory and lunch, and students probably wouldn't have anything else going on. So that timing could work out where we would have enough time for it, and then also all students would be available to go to it.
I'm glad that's still in place.
I think the last question I just had was around parent engagement groups. I know we work really hard to put on these kind of events like career fair, college readiness stuff, but I wonder, does that actually end up making it uncomfortable for students because then it adds more pressure, or would that be a collaboration that like you guys would want to work with the district on, of like I know you kind of mentioned involving parents in it, but I just wonder how much is too much parent involvement to the point that it makes it stressful instead of a learning and productive space?
I think there's always stress when it comes to figuring out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. But the general consensus I get from students is that I just want to speak to someone who's like gone through it and was me at some point. So I think involving as many people from different backgrounds, parent advisory groups is going to be really helpful, especially for students who have different backgrounds and come from more disenfranchised communities. I think that would be really, really helpful.
I primarily just wanted to say thank you very much for this presentation and for all of the time that you each spent gathering all of this information and like bringing it together into a really well-organized deck and then presenting it to us. It's just really impressive, and I can only imagine how busy all of your lives are. So I just want to honor and appreciate the amount of time and care that you had to give to creating this. It's a really wonderful just sort of piece of information that we have, and I'm hoping that we can perhaps in a future board meeting agendize, just of course, as you noted, it's not as if every possible, suggestion can be implemented, but a lot of them very easily can be, or certainly we can kind of track progress like we implemented this particular thing in response to the presentation. I think that would be a really great way just to show clear, tangible effects from all the work that went into this.
I just want to add to the praise. Thank you so much. I'm always just so impressed by the engagement of students in our district. And not only did you just do an amazing presentation, but you've really identified and touched on some issues that would be great for us to look at further. Some of those points that you talked about, for example, the non-STEM AP class at the high school, this is something that we've talked about at the high school for a number of years. I think, it's given us some real kind of issues to dial into a bit more, so I really appreciate you bringing that to everyone's attention. Thank you so much.
I will continue the appreciations. I wanted to ask you all first, though, I don't think we got everyone's names in the beginning, and I wanted to make sure that we did that. So can you guys all just introduce yourselves and maybe, tell us something interesting about you in Albany schools or something?
I'm Ethan. I'm a senior. I don't know. I'm on the basketball team. I can't think of anything interesting.
I'm Rudy. I'm a junior, and I run the school's engineering club.
I'm Harsha. I'm a senior, and I run the school's mock trial club.
I'm Dexter, and I'm secretary of the Best Buddies Club at the high school, and I'm on the baseball team.
We know the other two. We won't make you do it. I know. Well, hopefully they'll weave those in for us. Get to know everyone better. I had a couple of just thoughts and comments. One, you brought up a really good point that students don't know that there's all these services like the S3 classroom and counseling. And so I was wondering, do we still do like a walkthrough? Would it maybe be helpful to do, one more often and just be like, oh, and here's this space just to remind you it's here, you can come by, and just make it a little more friendly. So I don't know if...
Yeah, I do think that like any kind of exposure to those services is always helpful. Because I think the issue is that I think people think that it's only like the counseling office is the only thing you can go to when there's all these other things. And I actually was able to go into S3 like a couple weeks ago, and it's actually a really beautiful space, and they have like a lot of really calming things. And I think if a lot of other people knew about it, they would be, and just like what it actually has in it, they would be a lot more inclined to try it out.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question about that.
Oh, yeah.
Do we still have walkthroughs for incoming freshmen led by our
Yeah,
more
we
mature
still have tours for freshmen, but S3 is usually locked during that touring time. So I don't know if we can get it open, but we do try to like, here it is, but
Here's
it's,
the counselors, here's
yeah.
the mental health center?
But they're all like closed, so they don't really get like a
Okay, thanks.
full view of it.
Yeah, or maybe like, like, oh, it's open house, so let's really make sure that, or it's open house during the school day, like go visit these classes are visiting other classes so they can see what it's about. Just more ways to like have that interaction. Like you were saying, teachers communicate. The best way for me to know what other teachers are doing is to go sit in their classroom for like 30 minutes and watch them teach and watch them deliver a lesson. So I feel like, before I took a job in Albany long ago, I said, okay, sure, but if I'm gonna be a parent in a classroom, I have to go see all 4 teachers and then decide if I could do this and like who would be a good fit for me to work with. And it was really helpful. So I feel like offering that to students and saying, hey, look, that's a class I really wanna take. I'm gonna stretch and try and do it, could be great. Check-ins with teachers, do we use any program? In my district, the students do Sown to Grow online, and it's just like a check-in back and forth, highly confidential between the teacher and the students. And then if there's like concerning language or anything like that, or they mark really sad, then we get a flag. And so I make sure to go in and read it, and you can then do a check-in. So it's like a nice way, it's, as long as no one hacks it, it's confidential, and it's a really wonderful place. So I didn't know if we had anything like that. Maybe it's an advisory thing where once a month during advisory, all students do this program and we can monitor. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then I just wanted to say that I'm really appreciating the bridge between the middle school and the high school. And I think that's a super special thing that makes Albany so wonderful, is that, yes, we're close in proximity, but also like people see it as this sort of duty to keep making the connections. And I really appreciate all of you taking that time and making that happen. So thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Amazing. We're gonna make sure to agendize a follow-up. All right. Oh, any public comment on that one? Okay, seeing none, we are going to adjourn this amazing item. Thank you all for coming and joining us this evening. We get to move on to another exciting student.
If there are any immediate questions that come up, I could do my best to answer them. So yeah, I'll just go ahead. Whereas Charter 6 of the City of Albany Chapter 6 includes the Albany Unified School District Board of Education, and whereas the City of Albany Charter sets the method of electing the AUSD Board of Education, as well as the Albany City Council, and whereas Objective 2 of the AUSD strategic plan is to support the whole child, with the goal that we will foster the social and emotional growth of all students, implement an array of strategies to increase student engagement, identify individual socioeconomic and behavioral needs, and apply collaborative, appropriate interventions. And whereas one of the commitments to implement this goal is we will provide policies and procedures that reflect current research and best practices regarding students' physical and socio-emotional well-being. And whereas the AUSD Board of Education recognizes that a preponderance of peer-reviewed research has found that 16 and 17-year-olds possess the faculties necessary to make informed and reasoned decisions on voting on par with 18-year-olds. And whereas the Albany Unified School District's Board of Education recognizes that, holds that the inclusion of 16 and 17-year-olds in local elections advances the school board's district of equity and inclusion by giving our youth a voice in city decisions that affect them. And whereas as a result of using ranked choice voting, city council and school board elections are on a separate ballot card. And whereas our neighboring cities of Berkeley and Oakland have already adopted measures to extend voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds in school board elections. Sorry, lots of whereases. And whereas the city of Berkeley and Oakland and the county of Alameda are currently developing a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, regarding the charge to these cities for providing 16 and 17-year-olds the vote in the Board of Education elections in each city. Therefore, be it resolved, the AUSD Board of Education requests that the Albany City Council place a charter amendment on the November 2024 ballot allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in Albany city level elections, including city council and school board elections. And be it further resolved, the AUSD Board of Education requests that the Albany City Council include in the charter amendment a provision allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote on Albany Unified School District and City of Albany ballot measures, if doing so will not delay implementation of allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in other Albany city level elections, including city council and school board elections. And that by June, the AUSD Board of Education will provide the Albany City Council validation that the AUSD is willing to bear its share of the cost implied by the MOU between the ROV and the cities of Berkeley and Oakland, if available by May, or will provide the upper limit share of the cost the AUSD is willing to bear to provide the vote to 16 and 17-year-olds. So that is the resolution, and if there are any immediate questions, I'd be happy to stand here.
I have to remind everyone that we're always happy to share in resolution reading. Yeah, we can always pass it around because they are lengthy in the whereases.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions up here?
Not a question, just like a comment. Like, thank you so much for working on this. I know that you've been planning this like way in advance, and you've been like spending your weekends doing this, which is like, thank you so much. This is gonna help like a lot of students who want to be civically engaged, and this is one step in doing that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your work as well.
So I made my comments last time. If nobody else has a comment, do you have a comment?
Why don't we just go down?
Okay. So I'm really, I'm really proud to participate and support you, as you know.
Thank you.
I will say one of my favorite things in student organizing is when a student says, "Oh yeah, we were working on that. It's so glad to see it finally happening." And so when I spoke to student trustee or former student trustee Allison, it was just really great to hear her excitement about something that she had at one point worked on, and then for it to finally be in fruition. So I know this is something that's obviously been going on for years, and the amount of time and effort you guys dedicated to it. You did a wonderful job of really leading and steering this effort, and I really want to give you kudos for that because it takes a lot of effort to do so. I'm really glad that this is happening. I think a lot of people don't realize just how much more aware our youth are of local elections, about politics, and quite frankly, how this is going to be impacting their future in the long run. And it's extremely important that we make space for people at the table, especially when they are impacted by these decisions. So I'm glad that we're taking a step towards that. And thank you for leading the effort on this.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw a presentation from the Student Advocacy Committee. I think there are plenty of great examples of really engaged students who really are very knowledgeable about what's going on in the city and who, would be great voices to add in our goings on.
I'll add to the thanks and just say that it does my soul good to hear young people do hard work to increase the voting that's happening, increase the knowledge, increase that sort of level of engagement, especially from our young people who have got so many things better figured out than us older folks, and I'm hoping kind of save us from all like various issues. It's not fair to put that on you, but I'm sorry. I'm helping too. We're all doing the best that we can. Coming from people who died to try to exercise the right to vote, it's just a really wonderful thing to see people committed to enlarging the number of people who can vote, particularly when there are people at the same time trying to take voting rights away. And so I just, this effort, this initiative is extremely important on many levels, and I really appreciate your focus and commitment to it. It's an important, wonderful thing.
Thank you so much, Trustee Boyd.
Just really quickly from me, thanks again, Alex, for coming in. And I want to acknowledge the amount of work you've put into this for a long time, and not only with us separately, but also with City Council. You've done a really good job of communicating and sort of liaising with everybody throughout the district. So well done. And I know the work is not quite over yet. We have another resolution to go, but this is a fantastic start. And thank you so much.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with you on the next resolution.
Since your vote would decide who sits up here, and then we get to decide what happens in your schools, I think it's only fitting that we give you some say in that. And I think that having the student committee members in our school committees and in our city committees has been a huge step. And so this just kind of will help add to that level of engagement. I do hope that students will be like, look, we get to vote, and who's in the school board election? Hey, Mom, Dad, you'd be great if you ran, because it would be so good to have more people be excited about doing what we do. So I'm really happy to see all this work on it, and I think that it's a great step for students to be able to begin being civically engaged, and see that when you pay attention and you act on that, that something can come of it. We're going to take any public comment on this. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Patty. I'm the Vice President of ATA, and I just wanted to again say how impressed we are with the amazing students in our district, and that our union has fully endorsed this. And if I'm reading the room right, it sounds like you're in favor of this, but I wanted to put that forward and say that ATA fully endorses this.
And seeing none in our virtual audience, we can now test Patty's theory about whether the room has been read correctly and take a motion.
Actually, go ahead.
I move that we approve resolution number 2023-24-25, resolution to extend voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds in local elections.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no opposition. All right, we have one other step to take care of, and this is to announce that we have come to an employment agreement with our interim superintendent. I'd like to just start by appreciating that Jackie was so willing to step in and just cover this bit of time, and you know how much work that was. Okay, the next agenda item addresses the board's open session discussion and possible approval of an employment agreement with interim superintendent Dr. Donald Evans. We are required by law to report the material financial terms of the proposed interim superintendent employment agreement before taking action on it. So, the district would employ Dr. Evans commencing on March 26th, 2024, and terminating on the first date of service of a permanent superintendent. By mutual agreement, Dr. Evans may work up to an additional 10 days following the hiring of a permanent superintendent to assist with the transition. Dr. Evans will be compensated at the per diem rate of $1,311.33 per full day of service provided to the district. Dr. Evans will work on an average of 3 days or 24 hours per week during the term of the agreement. Dr. Evans will not receive health benefits or any other allowances from the district. The district will reimburse Dr. Evans for the actual and necessary expenses incurred by him within the course and scope of his employment, so long as such expenses are permitted by district policy or incurred with prior approval of the board. This concludes the summary of the material financial terms of the proposed interim superintendent employment agreement. A complete copy of the interim superintendent employment agreement is available from the district office upon request, and copies are available in the room this evening. The board has our copies. There are some extras up here. If anyone would like to see a copy, do you want to see one? You can grab one. I would assume the other two people in here have already seen it. Okay. So with that, we can call up Dr. Donald Evan. Do we want to do that? We should probably vote on it first. Yeah, okay. It doesn't give me, the script ended without the order, and I was like, I think we should probably vote first so that you get this done. All right, anyone have any questions, comments? We have Harold, our attorney, here as well in case we need to ask questions about this.
I think I'll just say that I don't think any of us expected to be in this situation, but this was a very difficult decision that we needed to make, obviously. It was extremely difficult for the entire board to be in a position where we so quickly had to, figure out what was next. This has not been easy for any of us. Quite honestly, there's been a lot of tears. There's been a lot of emotions. There's been a lot of ups and downs. But we are, and I don't like to speak for the board, but I think we feel that we are really in good hands with Dr. Evans, and we are very thankful that he was willing and able to take this on. And there truly is no better person to fill his shoes. So thank you so much for being willing. And with that, I will make the motion to approve. Sorry, I need to find it on the agenda. Or unless somebody else wanted to speak.
I'm just really quickly going to take public comment on
Okay.
it, if that's okay. If there is any public comment, just want to make sure we have time. Okay, all right.
Then I will move to, no, I move to improve employee contract and appointment of interim superintendent, Dr. Evans.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now you want to come on up.
You almost made me cry.
We've all been crying a little.
Board, thank you so much. Community, staff, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve. I keep saying I'm not going to get emotional. Most of you know I know Dr. Wells. We were very good friends, and I had the opportunity to coach him. And so I want to keep it brief. This is an opportunity for me to honor his contributions in his life. Knowing Dr. Wells, he would want all of us in here crying right now. That's just him. And then the party. And so I found out the other day when I was in the office, someone told me there was a formula for Dr. Wells. And it was Dr. Wells equals X plus 1. Because Dr. Wells was extra. He was always did what you did and topped you with one extra thing. And so I want to do that for Dr. Wells. I want to go above and beyond what he would have done for you. And I just want to thank all of you for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you. And I want to give a shout out to the students. Amazing presentation, amazing. And I do remember the resolution when I was in Berkeley that we passed for students to be able to vote. I was a part of that as well. So kudos to all of you, and I want to be able to serve you in the best way that I know how, because you are the reason why we do this, and you're super special to me and to everyone else. And again, board, thank you so much for this opportunity. Do you have any questions for me?
No, we'll just ask all our questions later. It's okay. Okay. I thought COVID was going to be the hardest thing we had to do. That was a warm-up. I'll take it again. Okay. Superintendent and board member reports, and our interim superintendent, Jackie, is going to give a short report for us.
Thank you. So I had a privilege of visiting and attending our freshman forum at a high school today. My gosh, what an experience. Our freshmen is well prepared. They did an amazing job. Not only that, even the seniors who are attending as an audience ask amazing questions. I was so impressed. And I felt that, wow, this education in Albany really works. They are our futures. They are the leaders of our futures. So it was just amazing feelings to have today. And I was just very impressed. And to our students, we're really proud of them. And many thanks to our teachers who made that happen as well. That concludes my report.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have a report. I'm going to be going to Freshman Forum tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. I attended the musical Mamma Mia at the high school a couple of weeks ago, which was amazing. That was a bright spot. And coming up, there are lots of events at the high school. Prom Closet started today. It's today and then again on Thursday and the 9th of April. So lots of people donated gowns and suits and accessories, etc., for kids to wear, juniors and seniors to wear for prom. PTSA is so grateful for the community because they really stepped up. And then they had the Cougar Challenge. It did not meet its goal. And so they're worrying about having to limit teacher grants and teacher appreciation, student scholarships. If that goal of $8,000 is not met, people can still donate. If you go to betterworld.org and look for Albany High School PTSA, you can see where to donate. What else? Graduation committee planning is well underway. The ceremony will be on Wednesday, the 5th of June at 5 o'clock on Cougar Field. And PTSA meeting, the next one is on Monday, the 15th of April at 7 p.m. in person in the library. So it'd be great if people could come to that. People have stepped up now to fill the board positions for PTSA for next year, so that's great and one less thing to worry about. And that, I think, is everything for me. Thank you.
I'll just share appreciation for Ms. Tidra Grogans, who presented at the Student Achievement Committee meeting, provided wonderful information about all of the great supportive, thoughtful counseling resources that are available for our high school students. Just really appreciate and honor her service and the service and commitment of all of our counseling staff and teachers and all the folks who are helping to support our high school students. And then for the middle school, I'll share that they had a wonderful dance on Friday. I will thank Principal Mapes and all of the folks at the middle school who made that such a fabulous event. And none of the kids in my group of middle schoolers came down with illness this time. So that's really wonderful, because for anyone who had any sort of involvement with a middle schooler from the first dance that happened in the fall, it was just kind of like a wide, sort of plague type situation. Although they had a wonderful time at that dance as well. But this time, wonderful time, and also no illness that I'm aware of. So kudos. And then I'll just give a shout out to Ms. Heisinger and the choral music program. I had the wonderful opportunity to hear the middle school choral concert last night, which was great. And I unfortunately missed the high school choral performance tonight because here doing my duty, but I will appreciate Ms. Heisinger's wonderful program that she provides for our students.
Oh, sorry. I was able to join Challenge Day at the high school last week, and I think one of my biggest takeaways was just the fact that there is a heavy amount of loneliness on our high school campus. and just like the feedback that, not the feedback, but just like just engaging with the students and hearing from them. It just kind of, it struck me just how much more it felt compared to last year when I attended. And so I think as a district, I really hope we can continue to foster our mental health services and just really make sure we're taking care of our kids. I unfortunately was not able to attend the 9th grade forum, so I'm glad others have and will be. Last year was wonderful, so if you're able to attend, there's still tomorrow. We have a story night with the author at Ocean View Library on Thursday, the 28th, which is in 2 days, 6 p.m. This is a local author who is a soon-to-be pediatrician who wrote the book, Why Won't It Grow? It's about a young individual of color with disabilities, and they're trying to grow a plant. And in the process of this book, they're really learning about their own growth and just kind of the way that we really need to nurture ourselves and the world around us. And so it's a really wonderful book with a really wonderful message that I want to encourage all of our community to attend. It's also a great way to remind our kids how accessible authors are and how easy it is that these people live amongst us, and that, you know, we want to be able to grow that love for learning in our children. So I really want to thank Miss Michelle for putting on this event and having it open to all of our Albany community. Other than that, our Ocean View memory books are on sale right now. If you pre-order, it's $20 now. This price will increase at a later time, so order them now. And there is always, you know, great artwork from the kids, and, you know, a great way to remember the year. April 9th will be math night at Ocean View, put on by Amanda. Again, a great, wonderful program that the kids love and are looking forward to. Right after spring break, we're going to have state testing. I just want to encourage parents that this should not be stressful for our kids, and let's try to make it something fun and enjoyable instead of like creating more pressure. So please try to talk to your kids about it in a positive way and not make it feel scary. And then lastly, the PTA election is happening soon. We still need to fill positions. We've got enough for the main positions, but we still would appreciate having a larger board. It makes it a lot easier to plan the rest of the events throughout the year. And we are in the midst of planning our 5th grade promotion. That is all. I will email you, Julie.
So for me, the Environmental Action Plan meeting had to be canceled because Scott Jaffe, who's our leader, is recovering from spinal surgery. So I, and hopefully all of us, wish him a quick recovery. School Care is looking for more volunteers to serve on their board, and they actually might have to go out of business unless they get enough folks. I think some of us saw some emails that came out. So I'm a big supporter of School Care, and I'm hoping that the community will step up. And then my last is personal. I will be missing our April 16th meeting because a student of mine from Albany High 17 years ago is getting married. And this is Daniel Singh, and he told his mother that he won't get married unless his high school principal shows up. And the wedding is in Kathmandu in Nepal. So I will be gone for a week and change. I can't miss it. It's a 3-day Hindu festival. And it goes on and on and on. So we'll miss that, but I'll send any comments if I can communicate.
Well, just bring us pictures. We just want to see. That
I'll
just
have
sounds
lots
exciting.
of those.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, couple quick things, and then I'm going to pass it back to you in a sec. Okay. Cornell has their Coyote Fun Fitness Week coming up, so get your sponsors in there, get ready. There's a PTA garden party when we come back from break on the 13th and a movie night on the 19th. So those are always all really fun. I just had to share this anecdote today. Because I'm teaching elsewhere, not often in Albany. I was picking my son up today a little early at school, so he wanted an early mom pickup, and I happened to overhear a father who we all know very well, Neri, and his son walking out, and they were talking about equivalent fractions. And I was just so blown away by the description of it, that it's two fractions that are the same amount, but they are like shown or represented differently, and just the eloquence of this definition coming out of a student from Albany blew me away. And I'm like, I've been trying to get my 5th graders to give it to me like that for weeks, and there it is on the sidewalk. It was just a really beautiful moment, and I enjoyed having that. And I see, Neri, you're here in our virtual audience, and I just wanted to share that really, really made my day. And I'm going to pass it back over to Becky for one more announcement, and then take it back.
Thanks. Just 1.5 announcements, because one was when Ron mentioned school care. I do want to emphasize that school care brings in about 300,000+ per year to our district, and they are at risk of folding due to not being able to find any officers, so just something to consider. And then the most important thing to mention is that I'd like the community to know that we are in the early planning stages of a memorial for Dr. Wells, an actual memorial event. We want to make, Trustee Boyd and I are on this planning committee along with a few others, just a small group. At the moment, we are trying to finalize a date. We want to respect the families' plans and give them the opportunity to obviously have their services before we do anything. So it was just to let the community know that that is very much top of mind. And we didn't want you to think that, because it hasn't been mentioned, that it's not very much something that we're thinking about and actively planning. So more news to come. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, but I'll just add that there will be opportunities for people who would like to assist us in conducting the service. We're just trying to get the main details set again after Dr. Wells' family has established those, and then we will be making sure the community is well aware.
Okay. Future agenda items.
I would really like to open a discussion about some kind of a district-wide screen/tech policy. I feel like we've had some policies implemented, like at the high school, for example, about not having phones in classrooms, but I would just love us to take a really sort of broad and deep look at what we're doing, what we could be doing. I think we could really make a difference as a district in having a cohesive sort of site-wide policy. We all know that it's kind of got out of hand in our youth, and it's not really sort of compatible with learning and a good classroom environment. So it's just something to think about for a future agenda item. Thank you.
I'll just add to that I had asked, following up on programs that we use in other districts, about using Go Guardian or having the like equivalent utilized. It's I guess part of what we're already using. There's some subscription that we could add on, and it allows teachers in the classroom to see what all the students are doing through their clever dashboard, and then shut down tabs that shouldn't be open or lock students out of computers immediately. It's been a game changer in my classroom, and my students are way more on track. And so Dr. Wells and I had a conversation about that, so I think we could maybe just make that a full agenda item. Okay, yeah.
I would love to see a conversation around math, especially at the high school. I think that's come up quite a few times already from parents, at least to me. I think there's a lot of just kind of stress, but also just, it feels like there's a lot that needs to be worked through. This was something Dr. Wells and I were in the early stages of discussing, but I would love to have that as an item that we discuss, similar to the way that we discussed the PE, to see how we can make this a little bit more not as scary and more enjoyable for the students, and make sure that students are learning in a positive environment.
We did have a huge presentation on it, so I think what would be great is, and I'm going to go do this as well, is if we all kind of went back and just rewatched what we got from those and just make sure, and then go like build on top of that and extend. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Just on that topic, a follow-up too on what is happening, what's been implemented. There's some confusion, like, yes, this is our policy, well, students don't know that, you know, like, so, yes, we should rewatch the presentation, but also we should kind of get a, what's happening now, you know?
Like an update.
Response. Yeah.
An update on, okay, we made those changes, and then, or not, and we need to still. Okay, all right. So we're looking for basically an update on the math presentation from before. Okay. Okay. No? Okay. I just want to bring up, okay, and we'd mentioned that we want to follow up on the responses to the student presentation. And then, so hearing this from school care, and I'd brought this up many times before, I would like us to put our minds together around fundraising. We have a fundraising committee that doesn't meet, isn't active, and I'm seeing these challenges are happening. School care is our only fundraising entity that is able to support teaching positions. We're cutting teaching positions because of our budget. We're hearing about it. But we're maybe gonna lose the one organization that can fund any of them because people can't do it. So I think it's maybe time for us as such a small district to kind of look at how many different fundraising branches we have, and that it, to me as a parent, it feels like, ah! So just like streamline, think about it. So fundraising, something, I don't know. Okay, anything else? We're good. Let's be adjourned.